had a premonition, and so I set up this ridiculous setup.
I would love to share screen. So whatever amount of work you just
Do you
went
know
through,
that it's
I'm very
really?
happy.
Do you know it's really hard to get Discord to let you have two separate accounts? It doesn't like it, man.
Oh, really?
No. You think it's just like, oh, create another account and log in, no big deal. No, man. Discord doesn't want you doing that. I had to like find another email address, get it to verify that, then like delete my Discord account off of this install, log in here, invite myself. Like it, not easy.
That's crazy.
Discord, fix your stuff.
You know, it's not easy setting this stuff up. I applaud you and your new setup there, sir, because just trying to get it so that like I can record my screen while we do the podcast is annoying, so that I don't show off a whole bunch of stuff and get good footage and get good sound and all that sort of stuff. It takes like time. So you just, you know, anyway, hello, welcome to episode 293. The lead-in production moment there, and possibly beforehand. I don't know what it was recording. I just hit it, you know? Hi, JJ.
Hello, Andrew. How's it going?
It's good. I am off the now stressful 395 highway, not freeway, highway?
I think it's a freeway.
It's
a 2-lane freeway, but you know.
Yeah.
I guess maybe
that makes it a highway.
Anyway, whatever.
Did you know? So for those Californians in the know, the 395 used to be one of the very typical 2 lanes, right? Like you could pass, you could do all sorts of stuff. JJ?
There are some parts of it that have 2 lanes on each side now.
Yeah. And because they did that, they have now changed many portions of it to no passing at all.
Well, you just mean no passing except in the 2 lanes that you are provided.
Right. But many of the lanes are not 2 lane. It's just single lane on each side, right? And they put up a bunch of cones in the middle now, so you literally can't.
Oh wow, cones, huh? That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean they really don't want people passing for like a good 7-mile stretch in the middle of it.
I mean, you're going like 400 miles. How is 7 miles a big problem?
Well, when you're stuck behind a truck going 35 for 7 miles, it's rough.
Yeah. I don't know.
You know, that's
in the mountains. You kind of get what you get, man. Like, you know, you're not gonna, especially like through the parts of 395 that are probably still 1 lane, are either in the middle of nowhere, in which case it will eventually be 2 lanes.
Yeah.
Or it is deep in the mountains where there's kind of only space on that cliff for 2 lanes.
You know, good perspective. I was stressed about it. I was like kind of freaking out. I was going to complain, but good perspective. You know, 7 miles out of 250 wasn't that much.
I've done that drive many times, albeit mostly as a passenger. It is a long drive through nothing.
Yeah. All right, I've got a bone to pick with you.
Me?
Yes, as you'll notice, Michael's not here, which means you guys can't gang up on me.
Okay. I'm worried what this means.
I'm firing back on my Disney complaints. Wherein you said this might be more fair, this new system. We were talking last week, just to reiterate to people maybe that it's not reiterating if they weren't here, to edify people that weren't here, about my experience at the Disney recently and the new
to be clear, he means Disneyland in Southern California.
Correct.
Not Florida.
Yes. And their new system called Genie Plus, which is like a improved, I guess, fast pass system. Basically pay to get to the front of the line system. JJ, your argument last week, if I distill it correctly, is this is more egalitarian because people can not have to be in the know about what to do. They just pay and the system tells them what to do. Am I incorrect in that?
It is more egalitarian than the multiple different levels of fast pass access that existed before.
Okay.
Whereas, like, you know, if you stayed at a hotel, you got different levels of fast pass access to like normal people versus if you just went and got the ticket, it was one thing versus, and all that stuff was different every time.
Yeah. So I aired my grievances at a event for children, to parents, not to children, to be clear. Kids don't care.
The kids don't care.
And as a warning, right? And one of the parents there followed up with me a week later and said, thanks to your warning, I just paid the extra $20 for everybody, and we got that Genie Plus. They did every single ride in under 3 hours.
Yeah.
That, to me...
seems like a great system, then. I don't see the problem.
Means they need to rework that system a bit. Because how should that be possible unless literally they are damaging every line to just let these people on and not care about anything else?
So you have to remember two things. Number one, Disneyland is operating at like way reduced capacities right now still, right?
It doesn't feel like that, I'll tell you, from being there in person.
Okay. I'm still pretty sure they're not at 100% capacity, but I could be wrong about that.
I believe you, and I believe that. However, because they're operating at reduced capacity is because they're operating at reduced staff, and it feels...
totally. Yeah.
Honestly, though, it feels in many places as crowded as it has ever been.
So the lines, while long, as they always are, did you see any that seemed egregiously high in terms of like actual weights, or were any reported? Right. Because so the thing about all this stuff is like, you can't evaluate it on like a anecdotal level. You need like the whole system of data to evaluate if a system is working or not. Right. Mm-hmm. So like you would need to know, oh, okay, well, we increased the wait by 30 minutes on Space Mountain and the Star Wars rides, which are like the three most popular rides in the park. Weights actually went down on these other rides, right? And so you have to like look at that to see if the system is worth it. It's like, oh, actually, well, Resistance is 30 minutes longer and Space Mountain is 30 minutes longer.
Yeah.
Thunder Mountain and like 10 other ones are shorter somehow.
My perspective on it is not from a park operator's throughput point of view. I'm literally talking about the mom and pop people who paid to come to Disneyland, right? Mm. And eventually they get to the point that they get told, well, it's another $20 if you want to do this, and the other thing. Oh, and by the way, if you want to do Rise of the Resistance, it's another $20 on top of the Genie Plus thing, because that one's separate in a separate system. It's $20 to skip that line, and I mean literally. So when the line is 2 hours, you get on in 10 minutes. $20, please. That's, to me, while it may be more of a factor of egalitarianism because anyone could pay that $20 and it's available to anyone, does not speak to me of the Disney of old where
it's certain
that type of behavior would not have been modeled.
I want to be clear that was never one of my arguments. I didn't say that it feels good or that it helps you or that it makes you happy, right?
Sure.
I said that it's more fair, and oftentimes fairness does not feel good.
And well, at a certain point, the amount of people that can get in there will cap, right? They can't,
of course,
sell that many tickets. And so then it becomes another game of you need to know which ones to sign up for first.
Of course. Just like it was before, right?
Right.
But then it becomes no different. Yes. I didn't say that it was like, again, not better for Disney, the company.
Oh, it's definitely better.
It is like inarguably, right? That's why they did it.
Yeah.
I think the arguments all come from a throughput and like allowing more people to enjoy rides perspective. Yeah. And if that's not a perspective that you care about, that's fine. Yeah. Totally fair and reasonable to say that I care about me and what I get to do at the time. And it feels bad. And I fully agree, having to pay $20 to go on rides is like more than the already lots of money you're spending to go to Disneyland in the first place. Feels bad. And then having to pay $20 to ride this one specific ride feels double extra scummy. Full agreement.
Yeah. I think one argument that I've heard from people older than myself, and that I actually understand. I'm not trying to play the middle of the road here. I'm just trying to air everybody's arguments, right? And one of the arguments that I've heard and understand is people telling me it's like bringing back e-tickets in a way.
Totally. That is actually something I have also heard.
I think it's I don't want to call it analogous because it's not. Analogous would mean equivalent, and I don't think it's equivalent. In my opinion, an e-ticket didn't come with only you couldn't buy a book of only e-tickets, right? You had to buy the book of everything else, and that
True, yeah.
Yeah. So if you're too young to know what I'm talking about, go look up Disneyland e-ticket, and you'll see a picture of the book, and you'll see how it all kind of used to work. With every ride used to cost a ticket system, kind of like a carnival, and that was the way they managed lines before.
And I want to say that that system was bad, and it didn't do a good job because people did exactly what you're about to say. They would just buy the ticket book, throw away all the tickets, and keep the E's.
Yep.
And because all they wanted to do was ride the Matterhorn or Space Mountain or whatever.
Right.
And that, or I don't know if Space Mountain was even there. You get my point.
Yeah.
But like those were the rides that people wanted to go on.
Yeah.
And the system didn't do a good job of getting people onto the other rides and created horrible lines on the E-rides.
Mm-hmm.
And so, then theory and all this stuff comes in, and like the Fast Pass idea was an attempt to mitigate the crazy length of lines that existed. And you and I are old enough to remember before the Fast Pass, right?
Yeah.
Like you would go to Disneyland and be like, okay, we're going to go on like 2 good rides and then kind of whatever else we can fit in.
Sure.
Because you're going to be in line at the Matterhorn or Space Mountain for 2.5 hours or 3 hours or 5 hours or whatever, depending on what day, right?
Well, so
and then all on top of all of this, Disneyland in general, and all the Disney parks, I think this is true, have been increasing attendance since when they instituted all of these plans.
And never stopping.
Right? And never stopping. That's the other problem. Like, oh, well, like you're saying now, oh, attendance is so crazy. Like it seems like it's, not even full staff and it seems just as busy as ever.
Right.
Yeah, because Disney is just letting more people in than they did in the past.
They have to because the ticket price. They want to keep the ticket price in a certain range, and that requires increased ticket cost. And
Andrew, Disney makes billions of dollars. They don't have to.
No, JJ,
but they
JJ,
are and will.
What is turning into my number one refrain in this podcast? Corporations are not your friend.
Exactly. So they don't have to do that, right? But they want to make more money, and so they're do.
They're not your friend. They have to get your money.
Not. Exactly. Yes.
It's one step short, I think, and I had this revelation actually this weekend, and this is why. They're one step short of just charging $100 more. Because
they're going to get there.
They're trying to opt you into buying $100 more worth of a ticket, right? There's like, hey, what we really want to give you as an experience is this experience, but we can't afford to give it to you, so you have to pay extra for it. And if someone had told me in advance...
Pro tip, here is... Oh, go ahead. I'll finish the story.
Just going to say, if someone had told me in advance, this is the experience you will get by increasing your ticket cost 10%, right? $20 is 10% of a ticket cost, roughly. I mean, maybe 20%. I don't...
Yeah. Tickets are more than $100 even these days, but
they're
whatever.
Definitely more than $100. Here's your experience. Here's what you get. Add the $20. That's fine. I was not informed of this perspective of what you would get, and that's on me and not researching and all that sort of thing. But what they really are arguing for, I think, by this experience is telling people like this is what we want to head towards. Like they literally look like they're headed towards management of each ticket into an experience instead of this like Wild West, here's the park, no e-ticket booklet to tell you what to do. Just go on Indiana Jones the minute you get there and then hit risers, like this
that is what they want because they can then manage the lines by saying, your Genie app is telling you, hey man, the line on Indiana Jones is like 4 hours, my man.
Yeah.
What if you went and did Splash Mountain right now? There's a 2-minute wait.
Well, so I had the realization that this is what they're headed for when I was skiing, or not skiing, I snowboard, but I was at the mountain this weekend, right? and I bought a ticket, and I went down this one chair, the runs around this one chair too many times, and the ticket eventually was like, "Nah, you got to go to a different lift."
Oh wow, I haven't been in a few years. That's interesting.
Yeah.
The ticket just like wouldn't let you through the gate.
It's like, I've been down this run too many times to get to this chairlift too many times. I'm overcrowding this. You need to go to a different lift. So I had to go back over to a different chair. As soon as I get to that chair, it works just fine for the rest of the, you know.
And then you could probably have done that once and then gone back to the other one and it would have been fine with it too.
And so how I had that realization, I was like, this is exactly what Disney wants. They want to be able to scan everyone hitting a ride and just be like, all right, this person just waited 2 hours at X ride. Now when they go to this ride, you know what I mean? It's like a...
That's 100% the goal, Andrew. And
Yeah.
you just said, you know, how they're trying to opt you into more money. As the lines get worse and the like even the genie lines start filling up or whatever, going to be more of those $20 skip the line rides.
Mm-hmm.
You
Absolutely.
know, eventually it'll be, you know, hey, you want to skip the Indiana Jones line?
Yeah.
$20, man.
Yeah.
So,
maybe
you know,
right.
the system is more fair in that it lets you pay your way out of it. Now, is that good? No, but it is equal in that the same system applies to everyone.
Right.
Whereas before, right, people that stayed at hotels had a different level of a system than me, the person just showing up on the day of, right?
Yeah.
And that is unequal by design. This is equal by design, but worse. So I fully understand where you're coming from. And I'm not here to say I'm defending Disney's move.
No, no.
And the thing that's actually crazy, you should go. I called out this video from Defunct Land's YouTube channel about the history of fast passes.
Mm-hmm.
You think it's bad here? The system in Disney World was insane. Just like fast passes were booked 60 days in advance for every ride.
That's amazing.
Like you get there the day of, there just aren't fast passes for anything in the park.
Yeah.
And it's just a crazy system. And so they are replacing all of that with this, which is better because it doesn't involve booking 60 days in advance and having all this insane stuff. So anyway, it's a weird subject for sure.
Well, I did some skiing. I snowboard, but skiing is what people call it. JJ, we're getting old. My body was not happy after, but it was fun.
Mm-hmm.
It was really fun. And I was managed to get in front of the TV one night. Did I tell you about the movie? I have now watched it twice because I love it so much. It was my late night fireplace hot chocolate movie. The Battered Bastards of Baseball. Did I tell you about this movie?
No, I've never even heard of this.
Do you know who Kurt Russell is?
The actor?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Did you know his dad owned a baseball team?
Was it like the Mariners or something?
It's funny that you should mention that because it did. I believe it was in Seattle. Now that my brain no, it was in Portland. Portland is my brain. I had to think back through that one.
So there was some like kind of minor league.
It's the Portland Mavericks is the baseball team. He managed the only independent baseball team in the country in the 1970s.
Interesting.
Yeah, he was an actor too, Bing Russell. But he and Kurt loved baseball, and like Kurt Russell was at the level of being a professional baseball player before he decided to go be an actor.
Huh.
And
I don't know.
Yeah, so it's a cool little story. So I'm just shouting it out. It was a cool little story about how Kurt Russell's dad took on the entirety of the MLB, and how Major League Baseball
crushed him.
Yep, exactly. How Major League Baseball used their monopoly to put him out of business, etc.
See recent developments of what was the wrestling football league and then the other fake football league that tried to start up a while ago. See the same story with those and the NFL.
I would put this as a much more heartwarming story about a bunch of people.
There's no movie being made about those ones because the story's probably bad.
If you just look at a poster, like go to just type in "battered bastards of baseball" on whatever search engine you want to use, and go to an image search and look at the cleanliness of these people and how they don't fit the MLB mold. Let's say
some very 1970s going on in some of these pictures.
Yeah. It's some pretty good stories in there about what happened to a lot of these guys after they stopped playing baseball, how they beat basically most minor league teams, that kind of thing. Very good story. Streaming videos. We got to talk about some stuff here, bud.
Okay.
Because I think you and I had a very similar experience recently. They released that movie, The Matrix 4.
Matrix Resurrections, yes.
Mm-hmm. And my immediate reaction to that was, I should really rewatch those Matrix movies. Did you have the same reaction?
Yep. Yeah. But I knew the difference being I started watching them before The Matrix 4 came out because I knew it was coming out and was anticipating it.
You knew.
But yes, I did rewatch all 3 of the previous Matrix movies before watching the 4th one.
I have to say, I'm glad so far that I did. I have not watched Matrix 4, so people don't tune out. There's no spoilers for Matrix Resurrections here.
For people listening to this podcast, I believe on the day it comes out, there are only a few days left if you want to stream it on HBO Max. I think it goes away on the 22nd of January.
This will be out on Wednesday the 19th, so you have at least 2 days to stream it. If you have not gotten an HBO account, I can't tell you whether or not it's worth getting an HBO account to watch Matrix Resurrections.
Maybe don't do that. But there are other good movies on there and good shows to watch.
I
so
can
maybe
say that all those
more than just Matrix.
Yeah. The 3 Matrix movies are on there, and those MonsterVerse movies that I suggested you watch. That Gareth Edwards one.
That's true. You did suggest that.
Just that one. Don't watch the others if you're not into kaiju. But that first one's a good movie. Matrix 1 through 3.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I was gonna. Okay.
I was gonna say let's start with The Matrix, the first movie, because that movie is maybe a perfect action movie.
All-time classic, almost perfect. Should go
on the
up
level
there.
of stuff like Terminator 2 and like other
I don't know about that
all-time movies.
It might be better than the Terminator movie.
I like it better than Terminator 2, but yeah, I'm specifically saying Terminator 2, not Terminator 1. But maybe not everyone shares that opinion. I do though. If I'm with you, it's like maybe one of my favorite movies ever.
I forgot that it isn't just one of my favorite movies ever, but it is a movie that I would defend as one of the greatest movies ever.
It's like that one and Fury Road, are my top evers.
Whew, you bringing out the big guns,
dude. It's so good. And so when inevitably any discussion goes on, they made more Matrix movies, right? People are like, they're so bad compared to the first one. Well, yeah. It's like comparing yourself to literally the peak of the craft. You can't always achieve that, right?
The problem is a little bit that the lessons in the first one were not the lessons in the second and third one.
Yeah, totally.
Right? Like the lessons in filmmaking that I see learned in the first one is not, and the CG does not help this. The lessons that you learn in the later ones, right? Like,
yeah, and actually, like the CG in the first one kind of holds up
because there was hardly any of it. Yeah,
it was not a lot, right? And then you get to the second and third ones, and they're like,
the second one's egregiously bad.
The second one is very bad. Yeah. The third one is less, but it's still bad. And you're like, man, just because you can,
yeah,
you don't have to. Right.
I think the second and third one suffer, and we're starting with the bad here because you started with the first one. The third one suffers from. Like the third one's the one with the twins, right? Or is that the second one?
No, that's the second one.
Okay, so the second one suffers more.
The big freeway car chase.
Yeah,
that's the second one.
The car chase on the freeway is specifically what I was going to call out about the lessons not learned. There's nothing really interesting about the freeway car chase.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly,
it's very long.
But like, what happens in it that you can think of that's interesting?
Like the cool Matrix guys take over people driving their cars.
Yeah.
We've seen them do that stuff
So
before.
now I'm
but
gonna
that's
say
not,
in the
like,
Matrix.
particularly interesting.
Yeah. Okay. In the Matrix 1, what's your favorite subset of cartwheels in the hallway scene? You know what I mean?
Totally.
You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, everyone says like the bank vault
yeah,
door
yeah,
break-in scene because that scene is amazing. But like, yeah,
but it's short.
But there are like
it's
four.
shorter than you think.
I know, because they do the cool stuff and then they get out of the scene.
Which is,
that,
maybe why the second one especially suffers compared to the first one. The first one, Matrix 1, if it didn't have any sequels, was the other thing, right? If it didn't have any sequels, it's still perfect.
Totally. It didn't need the other movies to end anything. And I think the important thing to remember about 2 and 3 is kind of really they should have just put them out as one movie, like one really long movie. Like, and in fact, maybe it was shot that way. I don't know, but certainly there are parts towards the end of the second movie that are directly called back to in the beginning and middle of the third movie, and they don't explain any of it. But if you were watching the second movie, like when they go meet the Merovingian, I'm just diving right in here. Mm-hmm. You see the man, his wife, and the little girl getting carried away by the Merovingian.
Yep.
Right as they walk up. Never talk to them again until the beginning of the third movie when Neo shows up in the train station and those three are there. Mm-hmm. Had that been one movie, that happens, midway or most of the way through the second movie. Mm-hmm. And if you had just been watching it directly, right, and you start the third movie, you would have just recognized, weren't those people that I saw earlier in this, but like instead you had a 2-year wait between those movies or whatever.
Yeah.
And so you have no idea what the heck's going on.
Yeah. Do you feel like now that I've watched it again, I have an answer for this, but I want to know your answer. Do you feel like you satisfactorily explained everything that was asked of Neo in those films? Who's the one? What's his purpose?
Gosh, it's so hard to answer that because I know so much more.
Okay.
Than the films.
You have to assume that no one's seen 4 answering this question.
So I'm trying to ignore 4 as much as I can in answering these questions because that would be unfair. But I don't think really anything that happens in 4 really changes the answer to this.
Sure.
But the issue is there is like more information about these outside of the movies, right? Like they've given lots of talks. There have been discussions. There have been video games, which are canon.
Yeah. And the Animatrix, right?
And the Animatrix as well. Yeah. So I think the thing that so I think you get an answer to that question. Mm-hmm. And it is a perfectly reasonable and understandable answer if you are listening carefully when the architect talks. And if you're not, you don't.
Kind of, right?
Right. Like, yeah, I mean, so in the middle of the second movie, right, you get that scene with Neo and the Colonel from KFC, basically. And, so he doesn't talk like the Colonel, but, and that guy literally explains everything that the Matrix is about in like really hurried and like philosophical language, but that's the explanation.
Yeah.
And
but they try to muddy it up with the Oracle, especially at the end of 3, talking to the architect and saying, these are different ideas or something.
I think the thing that isn't well explained is like what the Oracle's role was the whole time. Mm-hmm. They try to sort of tell you that like she was just another system of controlling the one so that the one would eventually end up meeting the architect and they would have the thing there. And, Neo would go back into the Matrix and they'd restart over, right? Like that's kind of they
tell you that in the second movie for sure.
Right. But then why does she agree to help them kind of go rogue off that path? That's the part I don't really understand.
Well, you have the Agent Smith thing, and then you have to decide whether the Agent Smith thing is part of the Matrix or not. Right?
Yeah. I mean, I think I think they want you to believe that it's something that hasn't happened before and is therefore something the system doesn't know what to do about.
Right.
But hard to know. since they don't really sufficiently answer a lot of those questions, which is, again, you don't want every answer to every question in every movie, right? That's not fun.
This is literally why I asked that of you, is because I was going to say, without having seen 4, I kind of, in the middle of 3, had wished they weren't continuing to try to tell you exactly what was happening.
Yeah.
While watching it and saying, if all the characters just started acting like things were off the rails, maybe we'd get what we needed out of this, instead of the Oracle and the Architect and everybody else explaining exactly how it's all going to work out and how, you know what I mean? Like, how'd you get to the train station? What's the train station? That train station part alone is kind of,
yeah, the whole like
a
the
little bit too much.
Merovingian and his own little like side deals and all that stuff is like very poorly explained and not really well integrated into the rest of the plot.
Well, because you have the Oracle and the Architect telling you that it's all part of the program. So then the Merovingian's part of the program or not part of the program. It gets like, if you try to answer too many questions, it gets somewhat confusing.
I think the important thing to remember is that the Matrix is a like construct world place inhabited by a bunch of AIs.
Oh yeah.
And maybe not all of them are playing the same game or are on the same page.
Oh, very clearly.
Right. And so like the Merovingian kind of doing his own thing. The Oracle and the Architect maybe kind of doing the same thing.
Yeah. I'm exaggerating for effect here. I don't think it's as hot take, right? Hot take time. Are 2 and 3 better than we remember? I think so.
Yes. Yeah, I think that I am fully on board with that.
Could I have edited 2 and 3 together to make one movie? So you had Matrix 1 and 2 and just called it a day? Probably.
Yeah. Would you lose a bunch of like the scenes in both movie 2 and movie 3? Yes. Would that be maybe a big loss? No.
The CG fight with Smith and Neo multiple times could have all been edited down to almost nothing. Especially the last fight where it's just Smith and Neo in the destroyed Matrix. Right? Because the point that I didn't get when I watched it is, I guess, a kid. When did that movie even come out? Matrix 3.
3 was probably like 2002 or 2003 or 2004, somewhere in there.
I would consider myself a child if I in 2003.
I was in college, so I mean, it wasn't that bad.
The law might not have considered me a child, but mentally, probably, I was still somewhat of a children.
Yeah, okay.
The whole point is that he had the plan to lose, right? Like, there was never a point that he was going to beat Smith. So he had to prove it to, all these things that are the emotional arc of the story come to fruition with Hugo Weaving losing the fight by winning the fight. I mean,
the Jesus, sacrificing himself for others thing, you know.
Right. Yeah. So, that part you get when you're older, and it doesn't leave it as strange as a person that came from the Matrix 1 thinking, well, what's the point of all the, I don't know. I actually liked a lot of the Zion stuff that I thought was boring in the first time that I watched it in 2003.
I think the only parts of the Zion stuff that aren't very good are the parts in the third movie with the kid running out and refueling the guy with the guns.
I actually don't mind that part either. You know the thing that I don't like?
Only the very last part of it where he like saves the day by blowing up the bridge or whatever is the part that I liked, and kind of all the rest of it I didn't.
The worst part of Zion is the general who has no plan at any point.
Dude, totally.
At any point has no plan and blames everyone else for having a plan.
Yeah, he's dumb.
You blew up the dock with your EMP. Yeah, but we didn't all die. It's like,
that was our only chance. You've ruined everything. It's like, well, but you didn't. Your plan was just to slowly lose and die. Yeah. This was a real plan, maybe.
I thought the acting was better than I remembered too. I remembered not liking Carrie-Anne Moss that much when I was younger, and this time around being like, well, she's one of the better actors in all of this. Like, literally,
absolutely,
like way better than I remembered.
She's kind of not a big part of the first movie, except for like showing up as the love interest kind of halfway through or whatever.
Yeah.
But she's very good in the second and third ones. I liked her.
Yeah. And Keanu Reeves obviously didn't get his due at the time, but should now.
I mean, I think these movies were popular at the time, but I agree with you that I think, people were like, oh, these dumb Matrix sequels were bad or whatever.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think they're better than people gave them credit for. Are they like classic all-time movies like Matrix 1? No. But totally watchable and good. And as a bonus, you have now had a refresher on all the lore and things that are going on, except for the things that happened in the video games, which are still canon.
I literally pulled up the Wikipedia to ask you if you played the Matrix online.
Nope. But there are some articles I can point you to that summarize all the stuff that is canon that happened out of the game or out of the thing.
So, Matrix.
This is not a spoiler. Morpheus is dead in the fourth movie.
Okay.
So there you go.
Wonderful.
When did that happen? In the Matrix Online.
Oh, did it?
So
okay. Interesting. I wondered why they had a Morpheus-looking character who was not Morpheus.
That is actually explained in the movie. So even if you go into watching it without knowing that Morpheus is dead, they clue you in eventually.
I see. Okay.
But yeah, now I'm not spoiling anything because that was known before the movie came out.
All right. Matrix 1, 2, 3. Pretty good. I agree. I think.
Yeah, I'm with you.
All right.
I'm very curious what your take on 4 is. I have seen some pretty divided opinions on the internet, so I'm curious to see where you fall.
I will begin watching it shortly, and be able to report back next Monday. No problems. Although, we have to record separately so we don't ruin it for Michael. I don't know what to do about that. We'll see. All right. Matrix talk over. Video games. Yeah, we should talk about those for a few minutes.
We do play video games sometimes.
Not as much as I'd like. I was gonna play Inscription this past week. JJ. So I brought my laptop with me, and then realized once I got there and opened Steam that it's Windows only.
Yeah.
I can't play it.
Yeah, not on a Mac.
No. Something that did show up over the past weekend while I was gone, though, is this cool little thing. I'm going to share my screen with you, and I'll capture some footage for the stream that is cleaner than this. My screen is not very pretty, but I can make a prettier version if I capture the screen later, but I don't want to. JJ, look at this thing. This is called the Epilogue Operator.
Okay.
So I got what is called, if you look up the Epilogue GB Operator. I don't know if you can Google that or on your PC, or I'll bring it up for you.
Yeah, I'm watching you here.
Okay. This is what it looks like. It's a little clear deck that you can fit about in the palm of your hand, and you can plug in Game Boy cartridges to it.
This looks like specifically Game Boy Advance cartridges?
No, it fits regular Game Boy cartridges, etc.
Okay.
You can see there's
okay, I see. Got it.
Yeah. You can use blank cartridges and put your own games onto them, all sorts of stuff like that. It has a lot of weird stuff. I don't have a huge Game Boy collection, but
so this is a thing that lets you dump your carts.
So it kind of does. So it has emulation built into it. So if you look at my screen now, I've got the thing open. It's got emulation. This is not an ad. I just got this thing and I wanted to talk about it. You can play the game in the screen. So if I click this launch button, a very loud version of Tetris will start. And you can play it with your keyboard, or you can see down here gamepad. So if I plugged in my Elite 2 right now, I could play it with a controller or my keyboard. And it just plays in this window right on the screen. You can make it full screen if you want to, or whatever. And it uses GB something. It's like a well-known emulator built into it.
Okay.
That they licensed. Cool. And if you go to this data tab, you can download the game and rip a ROM to your computer.
From the cart.
From the cart.
What this means. Yeah.
Yep. It dumps the cart to your computer. In other games, you can upload if it's not a read-only cartridge. You can download your save files. And you can upload save files
That's very cool.
Yeah. So it can kind of pick apart your cart. The cool thing on here too is if you buy carts online, it says official cartridge or not.
Oh yeah, so it knows like whether it has like the copy protection and all the little
it can detect fakes.
That's cool.
Which I thought was cool. I got this because I also bought one of those analog pockets. This is an Epilogue, and that's an analog. And I was deciding whether or not I wanted to get some Game Boy carts, and I thought this would be a good addition to that platform. It seems interesting, but I don't know how useful it is.
They're different, right? Wouldn't the analog... I mean, the analog is playing those things on a Game Boy-like device, right?
Correct, yeah.
You can't do this with that.
No, but you can like manage saves and stuff on here and dump ROMs maybe to not carry around your carts for your pocket.
Sure, yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
If you didn't want to. Let's say
Does the Pocket have an SD card?
Yeah, it sure does.
Okay, so they'll just eventually let you put ROMs on that SD card, and then you don't need this.
Well, yeah, I guess you could get them from the internet or whatever, but
look, it is cool to be able to take your games and take your ROMs and your save files off of the games that you own.
Yeah.
And that's cool.
Yeah.
I totally support that, and that's what this allows. And that's a cool thing to be able to do.
I thought it was an interesting piece of tech, and it looks pretty. And I'm sentimental about some things. I'm still working on my collectorship and not being a massive hoarder of things, because it becomes very easy to do. But if some games mean something to me, like I still have, let's look in here. I've got Pokemon Blue in here. I've got all those Final Fantasy Legend games. You know,
there's a collection of those that just came out.
Yeah, Saga something.
It's like, isn't it like? I think it's like collection or. Yeah, Final Fantasy, or it's something like that. It's like you get the Saga games and then the Final Fantasy Legend games, which are actually
Saga 1, 2, 3.
It's Legend of Mana games, and then you also get a Saga. You get one of the Final Fantasy Legend games, which is also a Mana.
Oh no,
game.
That's Final Fantasy Adventure. You get because that's the first Mana game is Final Fantasy Adventure.
Okay, there you go.
Legend is 1, 2, 3 is Saga 1, 2, 3.
That's right. That collection also exists.
Yeah, but I think the Saga collection starts with the actual Saga games, not the Legend games.
Yes, because the Legend games are like alsos.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Anyway, I just mentioned them because they're sitting out on my desk because I wanted to test them with this earlier.
That's cool.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know how useful it is, and that's why it's not an ad or anything. But I just wanted to talk about it, see what you thought about like. At this point in life, collecting carts seems like an expensive endeavor. I think I looked up the other day and like,
yeah, it is.
It's like $150 if I sold these Final Fantasy Legend carts, just stock, like without boxes and anything, you know?
Because like, so this is the other thing, right? Like some of these carts were not produced in high quantity.
No.
And so you may have ones that are somewhat rare. For instance, I happen to know I own a copy of Suikoden 2 for the PS1.
Yeah,
which is a physical disc, and that game apparently there weren't a lot of copies of it made, and it was worth like the last time I checked the price on it, the physical price, was also before it was re-released digitally on the PS3.
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
It was worth like $200 for that disc back then, so it's probably worth more now. But I'm not selling it. I love that game.
Right, and so that's kind of why I grabbed this. Is like, well, if I'm not gonna sell it. You know, I don't know. It cost me $50 to buy this thing, and especially considering the price of that analog pocket that I have sitting around. You know, it's not. It's a drop in the bucket, kind of weirdly, as an accoutrement to that set, I guess.
Yeah,
I'm not justifying this.
Cool.
I don't need to justify buying it. I just thought it was interesting and might be cool to talk about for a minute or two.
I think the thing that gets me about these. Is that this one in particular, because it's the Game Boy, I'd never cared about the Game Boys, any of them, really.
Yeah.
Like I played the 3DS and the DS more, but I just was never, the handheld stuff was never for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. I mean, I had a Game Gear too. I loved handhelds. We were in the car a lot as kids, so.
I think the handheld I played the most was probably the PSP. That says something about me for sure.
Yeah. I sit in judgment.
Reasonably, yeah. I think what that really tells you is I just didn't play any of these handhelds very much.
The PSP wasn't a bad system, but for somebody to say the one I played the most was the PSP is a rough indicator.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know,
I
you
think
mentioned. Sorry,
no, go ahead.
I was saying you mentioned how rare your Suikoden 2 copy is, and I ran into something that I found that was rare in my collection, not of video games, although it's going to lead us into a video game in a second. Magic cards, my man. People really still want those paper ones. Let me tell you.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, and especially old ones. The prices have gone way up.
I had a foil Vertaloth the Ancient from Invasion. That thing fetched a couple bucks on its own. You know. So
when you say a couple bucks, do you mean like more than a couple bucks?
More than 10, let's say.
All right, it's not bad.
I mean, just on its own, it's not bad. I don't have anything crazy. Like I didn't pay off my mortgage or anything with a Black Lotus.
Sure, of course. You know, we weren't. Well, I guess we were technically alive during that time, but I don't think any of us were playing Magic back then.
I don't. Yeah, you'd need what, a beta or an alpha one to.
Yeah.
To really. Anyway, I found.
Anyway, the old stuff is still valuable because there are formats that still get good amounts of play and have need for generally just a lot of random weird cards.
Yeah. Well, I had a pretty deep nostalgia hit when I found a treasure trove of old cards, and by treasure trove I mean most of it went in the garbage. And I pulled out the ones that Card Kingdom said they wanted, and I sent them in for them to buy.
Yeah. That's the smart play. Because 99.9% of those are worth no dollars.
No. I got a pretty deep nostalgia hit holding on to those things, though, my man. And I really wanted to play Magic right away when I found them. I was like, I just want to go back to the day where I could call somebody and be like, let's play some Magic tomorrow. Oh, okay, cool. Bring your cards, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's
a good day. That's
a big thing to remember about nostalgia. Is not about the item, but about the time, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So for the last few minutes of our podcast today, I would love if we could have a nostalgia moment together where you get me back into Magic. I tried Magic Arena when you started it.
Yeah, long ago.
It was over 2 years ago, probably now. The Magic Arena's been out, right?
Oh, probably longer than that.
And I fell off of it pretty quickly. But I'm willing to give it another shot. But you got to walk me through this because I am lost in the woods a little bit here.
Okay.
And I found some new formats and all sorts of stuff. So what I love to do is pull up Arena, and people in the podcast, just FYI, YouTube has visuals nowadays. I record them. So you could go on the YouTube and watch what the heck we're doing. Although we'll try. You know what I mean? We'll try.
Yeah, we'll talk about it for sure.
Yeah. I'm going to hope I turned the volume down enough on this. If not, we may have to edit it on the fly here. I double clicked this thing. It doesn't run very well, this Magic Arena, I have to say.
Yeah, huh. Kind of getting into a theme here.
What do you mean?
Oh, this game is, there's problems.
I see. Oh. Because earlier when I tried to quit the game, it crashed on me.
Okay, that's pretty funny, actually.
Yeah, after spending 15 minutes trying to log in and all that sort of stuff, it all crashed on me. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Awesome. So this is where I was left at when I logged in. I ended up with a lot of packs. I don't know what for.
Because you get some packs for free when you do stuff.
I see. Okay.
They've given packs for free out to people over time. In fact, actually, if you want to, I can go get you a bunch more right now. If we go into the store and enter some codes.
Oh. Live, huh?
I think. I don't know how many of these are going to work. So in the redeem code in the top right, you're going to try, let's start with play M21.
Ooh.
All right, so a lot of these are probably going to work. Shoot, what's the next set? Let's see. Play Zendikar. Z-E-N-D. Yeah, I think it's an
Zendikar
I.
or Zendikar?
Zen. I think it's
Zendikar.
Z-E-N-D-I. Yo, hold on 1 second. I'm gonna look up something.
Well, yeah, that worked. DI. Cool. So, yeah, okay, getting packs is a thing. I lost him.
One sec. I almost found him. Okay. Play Ravnica. You don't need all caps.
I didn't type it right.
Ravnica.
Nope.
Ooh, okay. Maybe that one has expired.
Play Innistrad?
No. Play War Spark.
Nope.
Play M20.
Nope. All right.
Play Ikoria. I'm going forward here in time. Ikoria.
Nice.
Try Kaladesh.
Cal.
Kaladesh, I think.
Nice.
Play Kaldheim.
Oh boy.
Kaldheim.
Okay.
Play Strixhaven. Strixhaven.
Cool.
Yep. We're getting all these codes, folks.
We can cut
you
part
too
of
at
this.
home can enter these codes if you play Magic Arena and get free packs. Play D&D.
Nice.
Play Mid.
Well, that's a weird one.
And yep, that's Midnight Hunt. And then play Vow.
Oh, Vow is the newest one.
Vow is the newest one. And that is all of them that are available.
All right.
And so that's like 3 packs of every set, basically.
Cool. There's a lot of packs in here. I don't know that we need to open them all now. It's not really
probably not.
a pack opening stream, but like
Pack openings are cool, but yeah.
This screen seems somewhat familiar to me. You've got your quests at the bottom. Rewards.
Daily wins.
15 games is a lot. I won't win that many games.
You don't get gold for all of them. You only get it for some of them.
Okay. What
Basically, like the first 3 daily wins or 4 daily wins are more valuable than all the other ones.
I see.
The next one is weekly wins. Those are equally valuable that whole way around. Getting 15 in a week is usually a pretty good deal if you're doing the mastery XP stuff.
I see. They've got like some sort of color challenge thing, and
So the color challenge thing is like also a tutorial, but you get cards and some money and stuff when you complete it. So if you intend to play, you should do it because it's easy and it's against bots. So
reward track.
yeah, so click on this. This is your battle pass.
Oh, they have a battle pass now. That's right. You mentioned
and
this.
the top level is free, and the bottom level is you pay, and then you can also get that stuff. And so this is what you get for leveling up. Basically, you get some packs as you play.
I see.
And then the mastery stuff, like the little orbs that you see in there, are
Mhm.
basically to unlock certain sets of cosmetics.
Oh, I see.
If you
It's
want
all
to see what those
cosmetics.
are,
Right.
Well, the packs are not cosmetics,
Right. But
and the money, and the
card
gems.
styles now, and they changed the way
car-
the cards look.
Card styles are all basically just cosmetic stuff.
I noticed they still have not added a friends profile thing. I can't add you
They
as a
have.
friend. They have?
You can, but yes, there is a friends thing. You can
Okay.
add me as a friend.
I'm not gonna do it on
and-
stream. I'm just
No.
Okay, I hadn't
But
seen
it is
before.
there. Yes. Yeah, that is new from the last time you played for sure. There's also a profile if you click on that, the profile tab up at the top.
Okay, hold on. Profile at the top. Got it. Oh, look, there's my profile.
These are your rankings. Oh shoot, I forgot that it shows that.
It's fine. I can blur it. It's
Edit
no
that
big
out. Yeah. The avatar is like what your character looks like when you play against other people. So you can select that. There's emotes that you can choose now.
Yeah.
And there's little pets on the side of the board that you can play with, and those can be selected because there's a whole bunch of different ones of those because cosmetics, right?
Right. Right. Okay. So let's get to the point that matters here. So we talked a little bit about last week Magic, I think, and like my desire to play Commander or something. Um, I don't know what to do. I'm lost a little bit. Other than maybe going in and doing this color challenge, I don't want to play and lose all the time to people that are tryhards like in Hearthstone. So what is the mode for me? I just want to go in and futz around and play with cards.
So there isn't a mode for you, sadly.
Oh.
That is the problem with Magic as it exists. Unfortunately, there is no like fun mode for everyone kind of thing.
I see.
So that you figured it out here on your play tab. Mm-hmm. This little symbol under here is Brawl. That is the closest you can get to Commander.
It looks very similar in the symbol to Commander.
Yes. The thing is that this is still 1v1, whereas Commander is often a multiplayer game with multiple people playing.
I don't mind 1v1.
Look, you mind in Commander.
I see. Yeah.
But it's what you get in a client that isn't programmed to allow multiplayer. Like they've all but said we're never doing that, so don't even ask.
Oh.
But the differences here are you have standard and historic, and for arena, standard is standard. The set of cards that are available in standard is a rotating every 2 years format, right? Same as it was, in the past.
Sure.
Similarly. Historic is the arena's version of like modern or vintage or legacy, essentially. It's like all the cards they've ever put on arena, basically.
Okay.
Except it's not all the cards that ever put on arena because they banned some and blah,
You keep
blah,
saying
blah.
arena. Do you mean Brawl?
No. I'm talking about arena, the digital client that you are in right now.
Okay. Got it. Okay.
As opposed to paper.
Or online.
Or Magic Online.
Okay.
Right. So the closest you can get to Commander is Historic Brawl. However, Historic Brawl also has cards that are legal in it that are not legal in paper Commander because they exist only in Magic Arena as digital cards.
I don't think that matters to me that much. I probably won't have enough cards to play Historic.
Yes, that's going to be the big problem for you.
Okay.
It is one of those things where over time you could build towards a historic deck, and if you keep playing long enough, you will eventually acquire historic level power, historic power cards in the next 5 years, basically, just by virtue of having played a long time, right? Mm-hmm. Like if you play a card game a long enough time and you keep current at it, you eventually just acquire lots of cards and eventually are just really good at old versions of the game, right?
Right. I'd be good at Hearthstone if I went back.
Maybe not. They pushed similar to what Magic does. They have pushed the power level in recent sets, and so you need new cards as well as old cards. But you would have good decks still because your old cards are still good.
Yeah.
Similarly, you probably would want to start with Standard Brawl, even though it is likely less interesting than Historic Brawl overall to everyone. But it's a place where there's less likely to be. The power level of the cards is lower, right?
Right. Yeah.
So if you're interested, you could try and make you a deck and see what kind of cards you have access to.
I was going to ask about that. If you wanted to go through and see what we've got going on in the decks tab here, because a lot of them say they're invalid or they have these little lock symbols.
So you have to play the color challenge to unlock those ones. Those are full decks that you'll get access to. They have like 3 rares in them total or something, but they're not bad.
Sure.
So go ahead and hit that big plus symbol on your screen. This is how you create a deck here. And now you'll immediately be like, what the hell are all this? But it doesn't matter because you're going to go over here and select format. And you're going to want to find Brawl. Standard Brawl. Scroll down more. Yes, just regular Brawl. Yep. So here you go.
So I've got all my commanders I could possibly choose from right here in front of me.
Woof. That is not a lot of commanders. Take a look at your choices here. Unfortunately, Andrew, your card selection is not huge.
No.
And the rules about selecting commanders are they have to be either a planeswalker or a legendary creature.
Correct.
You don't have too many legendary creatures, it turns out. So, do you like red-green or blue-black, I guess?
It seems like...
I think we're gonna have a tough time filling out a commander deck here. Probably.
Yeah, let's just see what happens here. Maybe let's go with this guy.
Okay, sure.
So we went with
red
Phylath, the red green.
Phylath World
the World
Sculptor.
Sculptor.
Yeah.
Sure. Why not?
Okay. This dude does stuff when he enters the battlefield.
Yeah. How do we tell how many cards we got? Can I zoom that out? This is there we go. How do we tell how many cards I've got? I don't have that many. That was only 2 screens, but it doesn't give me a number anywhere.
Yeah, it doesn't give you numbers.
Oof. Really?
That's not how this works.
I see. And I assume these little dots are one-ups.
Right, yes. You can sort it differently. If you go along the top row here, before the gear wheel on the far side, there's one that's like a vertically split screen. Very top right of the screen. Yeah, hit that. So you can now see the cards laid out this way if you prefer that instead.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Okay. I think this is you select every card. Why is it shock? Why does it have 3 different shocks instead of putting them in a pile?
This is a great question, Andrew, because those are different printings of shock. Right? The first shock here is, they are really stupid about this, and this is absolutely one of the dumbest possible things that they do in this version of Magic. This shock and the other 2 shocks are all equivalent to each other because they're shock and they're the same card, and for like legality in paper, they would all be the same thing. But because that little set thing is different, and this one's 19 and the next one's 20 and that one's the arena set, therefore 3 copies of shock. It's unbelievably dumb.
Wow. Okay. Well, this guy improves plants,
which he makes when he enters the battlefield. So you don't have to do a ton else to get him to do that.
Okay.
You would, ideally, to take advantage of him, you'd want to add a bunch of landfall cards, like cards that trigger when you add lands on the battlefield. Right? You totally can, and you're not going to have any.
I have none.
Yeah. Okay. You can trust me that there are a lot of them.
I believe you.
But let's see if we can even get to 60 cards here.
Well, we got to put land in, so that'll help.
Yes.
How much land do we put in, and how do we do that?
So in Brawl, it is a 60 card deck. Yep, that's your little symbol for land. Go ahead and click on that. These are all different art treatments of land.
Nice.
Pick your favorite, man. For a 60 card deck, you want to have like 23 or 24 lands, probably.
Okay, so 12 and 12.
I guess depending on how we split the colors, right? There are lots of cosmetics for lands, let me tell you.
Can you do like one of every single one?
You totally can do that.
Oh my gosh.
It will make sorting this deck into a nightmare. Please don't.
I will do it right now. Okay. So then you just keep going until you hit like 10 and 10 for now.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Then we turn off the lands. I see.
Yes.
All right.
If you click the little sets of bars next to it, you can kind of see the sorting options that you'll have next to the land button. On the left, next to the search bar.
Oh.
So like here's a lot of filters, right? If you want to see, here, like you can click not collected and see all the cards you don't have.
Yeah,
and I only want to get artifacts, or I only want commanders, or I only want instants or sorceries and stuff like that. Sure. Those are like some really useful filters as you're trying to build up a deck. Mm-hmm. I think for you, we don't need to worry about any of that. Let's just add 1 copy of every card you have and see if it will even fill out a deck. Because it won't let you add ones that are multiples of the same card. So okay, I think we'll be able to get to 60. We'll definitely have to cut some of these higher cost ones probably, and maybe some of these middle cost ones. You don't need random like 3 cost cards that make goblins or whatever that suck.
Okay, we ended up with 65 cards.
And that includes all the lands.
Including 20 lands.
Yeah.
We could up the lands, I guess.
We should up the lands probably too. You should probably add, 2 more of each.
Okay, so that gives us,
and then subtract 1 red land because Shattersoul Smashing is a land also.
How do you subtract?
Just click on it normally.
Oh.
Yep, there you go.
Shatterskull Smashing. Oh.
This is a land and a sorcery. Cool.
Ooh. Cool.
All right, so let's remove some of these other cards that are not.
Do
so
they go
great
in cost
hand.
order? Is that how they organize?
Yes, it's by converted mana cost going
Yeah.
down.
So we want to get rid of some of this high end stuff here.
So
Probably.
the thing about Commander is that Commander games go quite a bit longer than regular games because everyone only gets one copy of each card in a deck.
Right.
And so it's really hard to create a lot of like really early, like, you know, aggro rush type deck. It's still totally possible, of course, but there are definitely, it's slower, right? So I recommend like cutting a couple of these high ones and then some middle ones probably.
Okay.
Because you still want to have like good big cards when you get to the end and you have like 8 lands and you have nothing to do.
Right.
You want to have a chance to draw something that is actually good.
Sure. That makes sense.
So
this man, all these big ones seem all right.
Let's cut epic proportions, I think. Let me look at that one.
This is a 5/5.
Yeah. That's not so hot. And that Inescapable Blaze is probably not that hot either.
Can't be countered.
Yeah, but look, man, if people are countering you, you can just say thanks. Then let's grab a few ones that just look like bad spells or bad creatures.
Okay.
If you read something and think like this seems bad, then we should probably take it out.
I don't know. I don't want to spend a ton of like a 4/4 for
no
4.
text. Not the greatest use of your mana there. At least it does something. It doesn't seem very good though.
Doesn't seem good. Yeah.
What about
Let's say
these red ones?
we should pull out some red cards probably. Wow, that seems all right.
Yeah, okay.
Whenever
You have a decent amount of like goblins in here. That would actually probably be the beginnings of a decent goblin deck if we had more of them.
Yeah. This seems bad. This Molten Ravager.
Yeah, it's a 0/4 for 3. That's not very good.
All right. That seems all right. Hey, that's like a land. We could take a land out.
No. Also, it costs 2.
2/2 for 2. 4/4 for 2.
Yeah, that's really good. Keep that.
Plump.
That's really bad.
Okay.
It only targets flying. That's not hot, right? You want to be able to kill anything.
Right, sure. See, so this is a 2/2 with vigilance versus a 2/2.
So yeah, so that 2/2 can go. Totally.
Target creature gets 3/0 and gains first strike. It seems good. Put 1/1 on a target creature and untap it. Seems all right.
Yeah, not the worst.
We just got to get rid of one card, right?
Yeah.
1/1 with haste seems wasteful.
Yeah, you're not going to do a lot with that, probably.
Okay, that's 60 cards.
All right.
Cool. So now I have a deck that I could go in and try brawl with.
And they will definitely do the thing where like the first several matches you play against will be against
bots,
other new players who also have bad cards.
Okay.
And like certainly I do actually recommend you play the color challenge stuff because you will unlock these other decks that are locked on this screen here.
Sure.
And those are cards that you just get and can keep, and then you know what, those might help improve this deck.
All right. So the first thing I should do is open these packs. And then the next thing I should do is go back to this home screen and do this color challenge, and then go in and play some games in Brawl or another format, you think?
I mean, at this point, I recommend you stick to one format and don't try it. I will say, I think a lot of your quests do require winning.
Oh. Okay.
You know, all the like gold and experience and stuff that you get, a lot of your like your daily quests for like the 750 and the 500 gold, those types of quests don't usually require winning.
Yeah.
But those other ones are a significant source of income. You know, every day you can get 15 wins and you get some money for each of those wins. Like that's a significant amount of money over time. And if you're trying to do the free to play thing in this game, you want to be acquiring that money because when new sets come out, you know,
cards.
Packs are 1,000 gold each. You know?
Oh, ouch.
Yeah.
Ouch. All right. Well, I think that'll do it for today. I'll play some games. I'll let you know how it goes next time. Maybe I'll
play
get
Inscription though.
Yeah.
If you want to play a card game, let's talk about Inscription.
I will definitely play Inscription for next week because Michael will be back, and that'll be our main discussion for next week, I believe, as well as maybe a few little Easter eggs for you.
Ooh, I like where that goes.
Okay. Well, in the meantime, if people want to talk about Inscription before next week, they want to send in their comments, or they want to talk about Magic, or what else do we talk about? Or the Epilogue Operator, if they have any thoughts on that, or the Matrix movies. No spoilers for episode 4.
You can send all that to podcast@wewergamers.com, and we will happily listen. Also, I mean, there's still your time to get in on the egg roll, if you want to.
Yes. Food rules. Current food rules proposed. No food for the gram. Don't imposter. We need comment. We're in the public comment portion.
Right. And, we're willing to, take, this is the public comment period. If public does not comment, they become hard and fast rules. So get on your information for that if you have any. And you can send that again to podcast@wewergamers.com. If you want to see Andrew and I futz around in Magic here a little bit, as well as take a look at some of that cool Epilogue Operator. Did I say
Yeah.
that right?
Mm-hmm. I've got footy of that. I'm gonna record a bunch, but I just can't right now because it's so loud and I can't turn it down.
Well, you can go ahead and see that on our YouTube. You can find us on YouTube. Search for We Were Gamers, all one word. Follow us on there and watch that video. It'd be pretty cool. Hit that bell to get notified when the new stuff comes out.
Yep.
And follow this podcast on your favorite podcasting app of choice. Leave us a rating and reviews. That stuff does help.
We will inscribe our opinions next week. Man, speaking of computer stuff, something very strangely satisfying to me. I don't know if this will make the podcast or whatever, but just something I wanted to mention.
Okay.
Does your computer make a noise when you turn it on?
So my old one used to like beep a little bit.
Yeah.
This one is pretty silent.
So that's the thing that has changed on this one, right? It is now silent when I turn it on, but the power button, not the switch in the back, but the actual turn it on button on the top of the computer, makes a very satisfying click clack when you turn it on, like a very physical button. Nice. Yeah.
Mine is definitely a makes a feeling, but it's not like it's not loud. It just is like it feels like you have definitely pressed a button here.
Yeah.
But it's not doesn't make a nice noise.
The last 2 computers I had, it barely felt like the button was pushed at all. And this one makes it like a depression, a click clack. And then underneath it, I didn't notice because I sit looking at the computer from the front where the window is. But on the, I guess that's the side technically. The front being the slim part. Whatever. The intake area has like a little LED light in there that turns on with it as well, which matches the LEDs on my computer, which is cool.
Oh yeah, that's nice.
Yeah. This is little details I didn't even notice about the computer. But okay, so I figure we'll talk about some stuff